On today's show, the San Diego Padres drop their series against the Reds after a really close game, but more importantly, the questions are arising. Fans are freaking out, so it's time to ask about the manager. It is time for another trial of Mike Shildt.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Thursday, September 11th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for nearly 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the US of A. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament and ends October 31st of this year. Today's episode, guys, we got to talk about last night's game. Do a little bit of the old game recap because that's just, well, what we do these days. What can I say? It's Locked On Padres. That's what we do out here. Talking about the game, talking about nasty Nick Pivetta showing up in a big way, but having the trial of Mike Shildt, right? This isn't like the ultimate trial. Let's call it the pre-trial. That's what I should have said in the intro. The pre-trial of Mike Shildt, because we still got to wait to see how the season ends, right? But overall, that's what I want to talk about, because I think that there were a number of decisions last night. I saw some people on the message boards. I'm getting texted by Big Jim. Go check him out on the postcast last night. He killed Shildt, and I don't know fully yet where I land on this. You would think that I'd be defending Shildt, because I have multiple times this year. I don't like blaming the manager too much. But I'm starting to come around in that direction, folks. And after losing 2-1 in this game, and by the way, in fairness to the Padres, just a good series. Like, just objectively speaking, good baseball. The fact that every game was close, right? Genuinely, I mean that. Like, the first game, 3-4 win for the Padres. Second game, 4-2. This game, 2-1 loss for the Reds. And all of these games seemingly being decided towards the end. Let's first talk about Nick Pivetta, though. 7 innings, no earned runs, only 4 hits, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. I mean, there's really nothing more that I have to say about Nick Pivetta. He is not an all-star. He wasn't an all-star this year, but looking back, he will be one that everybody looks at as genuinely like a type of all-star. All this stuff was great. Basically no hard contact from the Reds. Not an incredible batting team by any stretch. An okay one, right? They've got some talent in there for sure. And some guys have been on a little bit of a heater lately, but basically it was only the curveball that got hit a decent amount, like only got touched up a tiny bit, but no runs. He gets a decent amount of whiffs, especially on the fastball. He looked great, as always, genuinely. Like, there's nothing else to say about Nick Pivetta. He's just been a godsend, like, truly. Like, this has been a guy that I really don't know where the Padres season goes if they don't have Nick Pivetta. And I genuinely think it is one of the only things that I've gotten right on this podcast, maybe my entire life. So I don't even know why anybody's listening to me. But moving on, in all seriousness, though, this game is all about towards the end of the game. First of all, bottom of the 5th inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. does go deep in this one, and you always love to see that. His 3rd home run in his last 7 games. Is this the start of something for him? Maybe. Can he have a nice end to the season? Sure. But I might remind everybody that even if he doesn't, he still has had a very good star-like season. He was an all-star. He plays great defense. He robbed a home run, and wasn't the one who robs a home run in this game, actually. Nick Pivetta almost gives up 1 home run in this one. It was actually Ramon Laureano out in left field who did get the robbery this time. So shout out to the Padres defenders. They've been pretty great like all year. Jackson Merrill has been in and out, but for the most part, this has been a very good defensive outfield. Ramon Laureano, not typically a very good defender, but I do like that he's made some really nice catches near the wall. I think 2, actually, since he's been traded to the team, so that was very nice. But moving on, let me tell you, man, we're going to get into the Shildt decisions in this game, but I just want to say, after the top of the 8th inning, in which they bring in Mr. Kyle Hart, right, who ends up giving up the run, the tying run. Monahan ends up giving up the go-ahead run, and then Yuki Matsui comes in to finish the inning. Doesn't really matter. They had to use him, blah, 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 blah. We're going to talk more about the decisions that Mike Shildt made in this game, which there are 4, and whether or not he should be a little bit more on trial, whether or not he should be a little bit more on the hot seat. Someone that, is just been dragged through the mud, I think, by Padres fans lately. I just want to say, after giving up the lead, or let's say like tying the game, I do think that it's worth mentioning that after they take the lead, you get a strikeout from Tatis, a ground out from everybody's favorite batting champion, Luis Arraez, and then a strikeout from Manny Machado, right? And I just want to say, as much as I complain about Arraez, and I will because why not? It's become tradition at this point in the second segment. Manny has truly been like atrocious, and honestly I think Manny's almost been covering for Arraez with how badly he's been playing lately. Specifically since August 1st, he's slashing heading into last night's game, I should say. Since August 1st, he's slashing 199, 261, 305. And the most of that slugging is just because of the last like week when he had the 2 home runs or whatever, basically. That's it. That's a 60 WRC plus he's rocking too. 40% below the league average. He basically looks like right now, and yes, he's walking a little bit. That's fine. I guess a 261 on base still isn't great, right? But he basically kind of looks like what he looked like last year. Just starting to, not starting to recover, but having recovered from the surgery that he received. Like, he's kind of starting to look like that again. Like, genuinely looks horrible. He's not hitting anything in the zone. He's not really hitting for power. He's not getting unlucky, right? This isn't a situation where I see him hitting the ball hard as heck. Like Jackson Merrill actually had a hit in this game towards the end, right? In the bottom of the 9th inning, where I actually thought he got it, and maybe we could have a conversation one day about the field dimensions of Petco Park and how it feels like there's so many hits that they just shoot, but the center field is just a little bit back, so it's just hard, right, to hit for power in that direction. But that's not what I see what's happening with Manny Machado, where I feel like he is making good contact. It just happens to not be falling in. He's just been a mess at the plate for a while. And maybe, frankly, yes, he's been so bad. 60 WRC plus since August 1st. He's been so bad that it has crept into my mind. Oh, God, is the Manny decline going to start happening now? And are we going to head into next season saying, wow, it turns out that it happened in August? Maybe. I don't want to go that far yet, but I can't lie. The intrusive thoughts have been there for me, and it hasn't been great, right? So that's really frustrating. I will say Tatis nearly throws out Friedel, who ends up being the guy that takes the lead for the Padres, that ties the game, right? Nearly throws him out. Tatis has been amazing in that regard, but Manny Machado, if I'm going to get on Luis Arraez, he has been terrible. And as the 3-hitter, you can't have that. And considering that Arraez has been bad, having both your 2 and 3 being as bad as they've been, and then having Gavin Sheets, Ramon Laureano, especially Ryan O'Hearn a little bit, and some other guys in this lineup, Xander Bogaerts when he was still healthy, it's like they're the big problem, man. Like, your 2-3 hitters have just been a mess. And that's really, really bad. But it's not as bad, seemingly, as everybody feels about Mike Shildt and some of the decisions that he made in this game, which we're going to talk about because I actually think that it's a pretty fascinating discussion to be had. But first, let me talk to you guys about our friends over at the 5-Hour Energy, folks. Let me tell you, I love me some 5-Hour Energy. You guys know how I feel about that, right? It's fantastic. Let me tell you, time to turn it up and fuel it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost, perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with the old friendos. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor, man, it's great. All the best parts of your clubhouse go to, and you don't have to chase down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the US of A, with the exception of the Masters tournament. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Ends October 31st, 2025. Go check that out. And also, go check out our friends over at FanDuel. You guys know about FanDuel. You've heard them before. They're also friends of the Locked On Network. And you know why? Because the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff. Right? You got to be ready. Every Sunday, every Thursday even. Tonight, Commanders, Packers. Who are you picking? Me personally? Oh, man, I don't want to pick against Jaden Daniels right now. He's been something, but that Packers team is a nightmare. So if there's anything, if you're feeling anything, I'm just saying, Green Bay might be the way to go. But go check it out, guys. Right now, customers that are new can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets across the app. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing here on the second segment of this podcast. And it's time for the trial of Mike Shildt. And I think that there are 4 main points to get into. Some have to do with specifically last night's game, and then others are having to do with last night's game, but more of a bigger picture thing. So let's first start with a simple one, right? And it's one that I don't think is actually being talked about nearly as much, at least from what I've seen. But it is Jackson Merrill bunting last night, right? Situation in which you get 2 guys on base, and a lot of people are wondering, why are you having Jackson Merrill bunt, right? Look, here's my thing. I complained about the Padres offense, like the 1-2-3 right after the team took the lead, like just giving them free outs, seemingly a lot of 1-2-3 outings in this game. But at one point in this game, let me see if I could find it. When the heck did he bunt? It was the 4th inning, right? In the 4th inning, you get a Gavin Sheets walk and then a Romo Laureano single, and then Jackson Merrill bunts, Ryan O'Hearn flies out, and Jay Cronenworth pops out. I like Ryan O'Hearn, but this is a tough one for me, the decision to have Jackson Merrill bunt here. Because for me, he has not been very good this year, right? Like, let's just be honest. He hasn't been very good this year. On the season, he's hitting .261. He's having trouble. But unlike some other players in this lineup, I've seen some evidence of him potentially getting a little bit better as the season has gone on. And he's been hurt in and out of the lineup. I understand that. But this is a guy who has had multiple extra base hits over his last few days. Now doesn't seem like the time to take the bat out of his hands. And don't get me wrong, it's only like the last couple days, right? It's not like he's been incredible for like 2 weeks now. It's the last couple days. But it is still worth saying, you know what? He's had a couple big hits. He's had some home runs, and his expected stats are pretty okay, right? I'm not saying Shildt is always looking at these things, but his expected weighted on base right now is 356, as opposed to his regular weighted on base, which is 320, suggesting he is getting a little bit unlucky. And as I mentioned in the first segment, it looked like he got really good contact on that ball that I thought was going to leave the park, or at least leave for extra base hits. So I did disagree with that decision. I did not like that. And in general, I'm a little bit against bunting unless it's like your catcher. You know what I mean? Or formerly, when we didn't have the universal DH in both leagues, both the NL and AL, that means, I was much more, yes, have the pitcher bunt every single time. I cannot believe we had that rule. We didn't have that rule for longer, by the way. It's so dumb. I cannot believe people were like, yes, I like watching pitchers stare at 3 strikes and then sitting down, or bunting, one of those 2 things. But that's neither here nor there. I do agree, though, that having Jackson Merrill bunt there, I thought that was a huge mistake. I thought it was very, very dumb. The other mistake that I think that Mike Shildt made was Mr. Ryan O'Hearn being taken out of the game. Jake Cronenworth played shortstop yesterday, and Arráez played second base to start the game, and then they end up moving Arráez to first base, Jay Cronenworth to second base, his preferred position, and if Luis Arraez plays in the infield, usually this year he is playing first base. But I do think that it's a bad situation in which you should never be benching the best player out of those 3, right? At least in my opinion. And in the bottom of the 9th inning, maybe instead of having to use Bryce Johnson in a big spot like that, who I think has actually had a couple moments of being able to just single, frankly, but he's still just a bench player. Maybe you get Ryan O'Hearn up there, your big deadline bat, who, yes, has been struggling lately, but still, over the course of the full season, he's been tremendous, right? And he has a good eye at the plate. So you might rather have him there. I will say, though, like, I was just looking at that, like, what are we doing? How is this possible? Mike Shildt substitutes him out because he wants better defense at shortstop. Right, because if he's moving those guys over, he's got to have that. And Jake Cronenworth doesn't really play shortstop. That's never been his position, really. So I get having the defense, but that hasn't been the problem for this team lately. It's been offense, and you're not scoring, right? Defense, really? And I get it. I guess Iglesias just needed, like, the night off and whatnot. But for me, I look at that and say, this is just not a right decision to me. I would have rather just kept it there and said, you know what, let's figure this out. I know you'd rather have a better defender at shortstop, one of the most premium positions in the sport. I get it. But for me, that's not what's been killing the Padres, right? It just doesn't feel like that's been the case. But whatever, I get it, because bottom line is maybe it's hindsight's 2020, right? But moving on now to 2 other decisions that I think really frustrate me, right? So taking out O'Hearn, I don't like that. The other one is a general one that we've always had. I like that they had Ryan O'Hearn batting second on Tuesday, but instead, last night, it's once again Arráez batting second. And I did rip Manny Machado, but as is per tradition, heading into last night's game, Arráez is slashing .245 with a 279 on base and a 329 slugging. Since August 1st, by the way. That's a 608 OPS for all you traditional folks out there. We love you. And 71 WRC plus for the advanced nerds. I have no idea why this guy's still batting second. It literally makes no sense at this point. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And Jay Cronenworth down in the 8 hole, I don't mind him whatsoever. We're going to talk about him potentially in the next segment as well. Receive a nice little comment from you guys. But I just don't like. I like keeping Cronenworth at the 8 spot. Cronenworth's a better player than Arráez, but I just want to say that's what's killing the Padres right now. The top of their lineup. Yes, we love talking about Tatis and how he doesn't slug anymore. Even though, like I said, 3 home runs in his last 7, maybe he's starting to pick it up. But he's at least been a good batter because of the walks, and he can, put the bat on the ball. He's still a good hitter. But what's been killing this Padres team is that both their 2 and 3 hitters, usually they're 2 and 3 hitters with some rare exceptions, 71 WRC plus and a 60 WRC plus. Manny Machado's been worse than Luis Arraez over the last month plus. So, that's what's really killing this team. And I just can't stand that they're still having Luis Arraez bat second. I think they should more permanently have Ryan O'Hearn there, right? Ryan O'Hearn, who's just starting to move down a little bit in the order, because apparently the only one that you can't try and move down of the order is Luis Arraez. I don't understand that, so I disagree with that point. The last thing I think that some people will say, including my man Big Jim on the postcast, everybody tuned in, he was going nuts, but he brought up Nick Pivetta, taking him out of the game and putting in Adrian Morejon. Look, could you have given Nick Pivetta more work? Sure, right? But he was at 101 pitches, and the pen is just completely gassed right now, and there's no day off, right? The Padres do not have a day off on Thursday this week. They're playing the Rockies immediately. So this is just a classic thing where I feel like people are complaining, and unfairly so. He was at 101 pitches, and yes, I understand they've taken out starters recently early, right? But that was Michael King. That was Yu Darvish, right? And Michael King, as we talked about in his first start, if not for the Tatis home run robbery, he's probably giving up 4 runs in that game. So, and he gave up 2 home runs to begin with, right? He wasn't that amazing, and he's just coming back off the IL, and Darvish is old, and they're still trying to manage and keep him healthy. So I don't blame them for necessarily taking those guys out a little bit early. My big thing is you got to score more, right? And as Big Jim pointed out, the counter to that would be, look, on the postcast, which everybody can check out live after each game. I might even show up for tonight's as well, because I'm fired up too, man, with how the Padres have been playing. But it is fair to say, as he brought up, hey, with the pen gassed, maybe you need to just try and see if you could push Pivetta more because he's been so good. But I think that that's one of those things where starting pitchers don't tend to get better. At the 85th time through the order would be like the 5th in this case. So bottom line is this, with Arraez in them, with all these different things, all these different problems that I have, you just have to score more, man. That's what's been happening. And this is a frustrating team to watch, and I'm not sure how or when they're going to break out of it. But folks, one thing that I am sure of is that our friends over at Nutrafol are fantastic. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, okay, that works, whatever. Okay, come on. What are we doing here? You can't fool me. You know what I mean? Shaquille O'Neal, you can't fool me. I'm familiar with your game. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything, and that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Why did I say work? A closer work too, though. Let's be honest, a closer work too, though. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people, and it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. It's a simple add to your day, 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed. It is easy, and you can feel good about knowing it is a NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies company, you know what I mean, or product. I guess is the better way to put it, right? Shout out Nutrafol. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Go on and check that thing out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing into the waiting moments of this here episode. Remember to leave me some YouTube comments as well on the YouTube. YouTube.com/LockedOnPadres. Go check that out, and I will answer your questions, especially for Monday's show. And remember that tomorrow is Fun Friday, and tomorrow's guest is going to be my man, Jake Garriani of CBS 8 Sports, so that should be a lot of fun. But in terms of Mike Shildt, not a lot of fun. I think that I agree with a good amount of the criticisms toward him, right? I think that the lineup order has been a little bit of a problem, especially with Luis Arraez, but that's been my beef with him for a long time. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. But the counter to that is Manny Machado's been bad too. You're just basically not getting anything out of your 2 and 3 hitters. I will say that Manny Machado, unlike Luis Arraez, which is why he's more frustrating, Manny Machado was the MVP of this team offensively for basically the first 4 months of the season, right? Until August got here, he'd been on fire. So I understand a little bit why Mike Shildt's like, I'm not changing this. He's going to wake up and it's going to be awesome. I get that, at least in theory. While Arraez has been kind of all season, right? Moving on, though. Moving on. The other thing you have is, like I said, taking out Pivetta. But my thing is, look, man, the bottom line is that you got to score more. So I don't want to hate on a guy who's like, you know what? I want to keep my starting pitching staff healthy. It usually doesn't go well when you always, throw guys out for more innings. I just think, yes, the pen is gassed. You could say you want him to go further, but you need more runs. This Padres team is just not scoring the way that it was before, and especially after the deadline. Part of that is because of Xander Bogaerts as well. Being absent from this team. Part of that is Jackson Merrill just being inconsistently in the lineup because of all these injuries, right? It's been a bunch of different areas, but overall, it's hard for me to hate on some bullpen decisions, some starting pitching decisions when you're not hitting fundamentally. The Jackson Merrill bunt, I get it. So overall, my conclusion kind of is his arraignment's being a little bit postponed. The trial of Mike Shildt, right? His trial, we're going to have to postpone it a little bit. Just like if anyone has read the Marvel Comics Civil War thing, they postponed the registration and then anti-registration thing for a little bit longer until something happens, right? But I will say, one thing that has been entering my mind, intrusive thought, as of late, has been my suspicion back in the day, which was, why'd the Cardinals fire Mike Shildt? Now, I still think that the Cardinals are just a bad organization at this point. I really do. I just think they have no idea what they're doing in a lot of ways, or at least not no idea what they're doing, but they clearly are not the smart one that they had established a reputation of being for the better part of the last 15 years. And that's why I questioned why they got rid of Mike Shildt. Maybe they know something. But it's been evidently clear lately that they might not. But I have to admit, it has entered my mind just a little bit lately. And again, everybody go check out the postcast. Big Jim said it a lot better in some ways than maybe I did on today's show. But he did a great job of just kind of being like, look, it's time to really start criticizing this guy. And I think that while I do think that we don't want to get into this situation where we once again blame a manager, because to me, in my experience watching all sports, if your team is bad for a few years, probably the coach, right? Or at least you can blame the coach. If your team is bad for a long time, it's probably the GM. If your team is bad for the last 20 years, it's probably ownership. We know it's not ownership because ownership has been a big part in paying all this money, RIP to Peter Seidler, and they spent some money on Nick Pivetta with some of the Seidler bros, Rob Seidler taking over, all that stuff. We've talked about that a bunch of times. But I don't think it's ownership necessarily. So if you're going to fire another manager, it's like, guys, there's one common denominator here. It's AJ Preller. And I don't want to go down that route yet because I think that the team is okay. And I also think, hey, they've had some injuries, guys. Michael King just got back. You know what I mean? They had Joe Musgrove out. He would have been a really helpful piece. They have Xander Bogaerts out for the rest of the regular season, right? So there has been some injuries here. Jackson Merrill in and out of the lineup constantly, right? So I don't want to just kill the manager again and assume that that's the reason that they're losing, especially when baseball, in my opinion, manager, out of all the three major sports, is the one that's hardest to evaluate. And it might be even the one that matters the least out of at least those three, right? It's just trickier to kind of judge these things. But I get it, man. I get the frustration. I really do. It's really, really tough. And I know you guys are really frustrated. It is just, man, it's not good out here for the Padres, man. It's just not. I'm really sad. I really am. But folks, a couple questions from yesterday's video. And again, I'm going to try and make sure that we don't double upload because I forgot to upload the day before. But one person left a comment. Helly Kerbert says, why does it seem like you literally roll out of bed and do these? Like really with the blankie on? Glasses always fogged, unshaven, unkempt. This is getting hard to watch, buddy. First of all, yeah, are the glasses that foggy? I am really bad just inside my life. We're gonna get personal here, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I am bad at just cleaning my glasses. I just keep forgetting sometimes. I don't know what it is. It's just a thing of mine. I am sorry if that's distracting, but whatever. The second part, the blankie, I don't know. I just been feeling it lately. You know, I've just been liking putting on this, like, I wear it like a poncho around the house. So that's just been kind of fun. I've just been enjoying that. And number three, I will say though, I work at home, like I work remotely. That's why I'm always just a little bit like, and it's nothing that requires me to necessarily be all fit and whatnot. You guys can't see I wear like a regular like khaki pants and stuff like that. But the shirt, yeah, I just have my like little gray shirt. I've just been feeling it lately. What can I say? But I will say, hey, I've also been a little bit depressed lately. That's why I got off social media, right? So maybe that's why I look a little bit less super organized as usual. But I promise you, it's not, I don't literally roll out of bed. And if you guys have noticed that, and that's been a problem, I'll try. And I wore a little blue hoodie today just to mix it up a little bit, because I have to admit, I didn't realize how long I've been doing my little blanket looking like I feel like I walk around my house like I'm in the Wild West, like, you know, draw, wearing one of those things, right? It feels like I pretend it's a poncho. I enjoy it. I don't know what to say. But I did realize I'd been rocking that like way too many episodes in a row, so we got to mix that up. But again, appreciate the comments, sir. Hopefully you are not out on the show entirely. And then I want to give a shout out to my man Dylan S6259, who says Jake Cronenworth appreciation post. He leads the team in on-base percentage, is second in walks, and plays good defense for an aging second baseman. He also is sixth in all of Major League Baseball in average pitches per plate appearance at 4.4, and he's your seventh or eighth batter. Infield should be, when healthy, Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth, O'Hearn, and Sheets DHing. Should never be a question. Arráez should be on the bench. No, everybody, this is not my burner account, but I do agree, and we did talk about this recently with the pitches per plate appearance. The fact that he's top 10 in baseball is really, really impressive. And I just really appreciate him. I think Jake Cronenworth has just been a little bit of a steady, solid guy that as your 8-hitter, you can't really ask for much more. You can, but you can't really get frustrated by it, right? And I agree fully 100%. Padres now play the Brewers. The Rockies upcoming. They got to show up. This is, if you want to win the division. It's just a shame that it felt like the momentum was a little bit starting to veer in their direction. And now it's like, I don't know. Is Randy Vasquez going to be good? I hope he is. Because while he was good on the box score last time, 6 innings, he did get hit up a little bit. The hard hit stuff was tough, and it was in Coors, so I understand why Mike Shildt pulled him a little bit. Can he give them another innings? If he could give them 5, that would be big. But with the bullpen gassed as much as it is, they need it, man. But most importantly, the offense has to show up. It has to. It just has to. But with that all being said, everybody, that about does it for the Locked On Padres podcast. The only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave some comments in the YouTube description section, comment section. I am so bad at saying that. Go check that out. And tomorrow's episode is a fun Friday with my man Jake Arriani. Going to ask him about Mike Shildt potentially, give his take on the whole situation. So you'll have 3. Big Jim, mine, and my man Jake. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But until that next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies, take care.